Okay, welcome back. So now let's start detailing this model. So let's see. Let me just save up this file. Let me save up the ZBrush file. I'll just name this to weaponry base bat. Now save that. That's fine. So we're going to start by working on the bat itself. So let me just solo that. So I'll solo this bat now. Then I'll need to add more subdivisions to this because this is a little low subdivision to work with. So divide, divide, one more. Okay, one more should be fine. So around 2 million polygons should be just fine for this. So around 2 million polygons, we have like subdivision level up to 7. So now that we have this in here, let's kind of go to the transform. I want to kind of have a radial symmetry on this to kind of make things faster for me. So first of all, I need to turn on the symmetry mode. I hit X on the keyboard. So I'm going to turn on radial. Let's see what we have. Okay. I think the axis is wrong. The axis is wrong. Okay, let me just bring out my gizmo in here by hitting W on the keyboard. So W, R, and S should swap through translate, rotate, and scale. Okay. So I think you should be on the Y. This scale, the radial should be on the Y axis. So now put this to around 3 or 4 should be fine though. Okay, 4. Let's just work with 4. Let's see what this gives me. Okay, let me undo that. Okay, let me just put this by the side. Okay, let me just make sure. Okay, yeah, let's create a new layer. So we want to kind of work with this on a separate layer so we can keep things organized and then we'll have backup for everything. So just rename this, create a new layer and then rename this to base detailing. The reason why we're doing this is because it's just to have everything we're going to work on now on a particular layer that we can turn off and on. So in case we don't want that, we can always delete that layer and to restore us back to the default mode where we had no detail in there. So that's the right word to use. So I'm going to be using the clay builder brush for this. So I'll increase the brush size a bit and I'll just start. No, that feels a bit much. Let's see, that feels a bit. Let me undo that. So I want to go with a lower intensity for this. So let me lower the intensity. So around 10 should be fine. Okay, let me make sure lazy mouse is turned off. Yeah, so something like this should be fine now. So I'm just going to start going all over this like so, light-handed on this. So I'm going really light-handed on this. Since I'm on radial, since I'm working on in form of a, since I'm working symmetrical but in a radial format, so that should be fine. So we seem to have an issue in here, but it's kind of giving us a kind of cool effect though. So I'm going to leave that. Don't just keep going around this. I'm going to fix it. I'm going to show you guys later on what happened in there. So the reason why this is like this is because it's on mirror. The mirror is turned on. Mirror is turned on, so we don't want this to mirror to the other side. But let's just continue on since we already have that cool effect in there already. So I just keep filling all of this up. The reason why I'm doing this is because an actual wooden bat is not completely smooth. So we have some kind of beaten up surface in there. So, and this is more or less like an old bat. We're trying to create an old bat in here, not really a new bat. So we're kind of breaking up the surface. I'm holding Alt now. You see me turned off, and then I'm holding Alt, and then I'm digging this back in just to kind of push that inward, so it's not protruding out too much like so. So now I'm working out of symmetry now. I'm just doing this as a single stroke without working in a radial symmetrical format. So just breaking up the surface even more to add some kind of variations, some kind of variations on top of this. So it doesn't feel too the same in a radial format. So I'm doing this now out of symmetry. I'm still going to be smoothing all of this back down just to break up the surface. And also adding up some kind of texture detailing there, which is actually kind of cool. So that looks fine. So let me just keep breaking this up even more. Okay, even more. I'll just go around this and then breaking up the surface even more. Even though you go aggressive in here, that's still completely fine because everything we're doing now is on the layer that we can always, even on the layer, we can always take down the intensity of that layer. So the intensity of that layer will kind of control the intensity of all the details or sculpted details we have added on that particular layer. And once you create a new layer, the layer is being recorded. So you have to make sure that layer has been recorded. If not, it won't even actually work. So let me show you guys. So I've turned on the mirror symmetry. So it's mirror symmetry that gives us that weird effect at this or at the middle part of our model. So when we turn on if you turn on symmetry now, so it won't be having that mirror effect anymore. But it's still actually cool though. Everything's still working out the way we want it to. So now I need to smooth this out, but the smooth is not kind of so intense. So I want to use a more stronger smooth effect for this. So go to your light box, brush. Let's look for the smooth folder. Yeah, that is it. So double click on it. So I'm going to be using the smooth stronger. It should be, look for it. Yeah, this is it here. Smooth stronger. So double click on that. Just click OK. That's fine. So that should replace the default smooth. So now I have a small stronger smooth in here. So I'm going to smooth this out. So I'm actually working with this on symmetry right now. So I'm smoothing this with symmetry turned on. So I need to go more a bit on. I need to go more on top of this to kind of smooth things out. Or maybe I might just have to go down to a lower subdivision level to kind of get this to smooth out even faster. Okay. But though the smooth effect is actually working, but it's not as aggressive as I would want it to. But it's still completely fine though. So let me kind of take it down to a lower subdivision level. So you can use the Shift D on your keyboard to kind of scroll down, to kind of go down the subdivision level. Then to go up a subdivision level, you will just need to hit D on the keyboard to go to higher subdivision level. So that's the shortcut in there. So now I've gone down to a lower subdivision level smooth, subdivision level 6, and then I'm just kind of smoothing this out. And then it's just working accurately as we want it to. So I'm not going to go too aggressive on this though. I still want to have that beating up bump effect on top of this. So I'm just kind of smoothing some of this out. So I'm out of symmetry. I'm smoothing this without symmetry turned on. Okay. Let's see. Let me just check this out to see how this is turning out. It's turning out quite nicely. So just smooth this out even more. Okay. Let me smooth this out. So I'm basically just going around the model and then smoothing some parts out. I'm not completely going aggressive on the entire model. It's kind of smoothing everything now because you still want to have that break-up variation even while you're smoothing this, so it gives you that more believable result. So now I'm going to be using the swing dynamic brush just to break up the surface even more, just to have some kind of indented flat surface on top of this. So the twin dynamic brush will do a very good job for creating that for you. Something like so. Let me go under also here and do this in here also. Okay. Maybe even a bigger brush size and kind of dig in here even more. Like so. Okay. That seems fine. So you see how from a distance with the reflection bouncing up on the surface, we kind of have some kind of interesting looking there. Feels more like a beaten up a wood that have been used for a long while to kind of break things. And obviously when you kind of use a wood like this, a bat like this to kind of break things or smash through things, you kind of have some bent or indented surfaces in there. So that's what the twin dynamic brush is kind of actually good for. To kind of add that indented beaten up surface. Okay. Yeah, this looks fine. This looks fine. So let me just kind of smooth that out. Or even use the tune dynamic brush to even break up the surface even more. While touching up the surface like so. Okay. So now we have more breakup on the surface. Though from a distance, we won't actually see all these details, but once you come do a close-up shot of this particular bat, it will look more appealing. So let me go to the higher subdivision level by hitting D on the keyboard. Right. So now we can see that we still have some textures in there that is not completely smoothed out. So I'm going to start, oh no, the intensity is too much. Let me take down the intensity of the smooth stronger. I still want to have some of these textures in here because it actually looks cool to have them in here because it's actually wood. So having this extra additional texture in here that looks like tiny planar lines on top of this is still actually cool. So I don't want to kind of erase that completely, but we'll kind of smooth them out in some regions of the bat. So it doesn't look so uniform. So randomity gives you that believable and realistic result. So I'll just continue doing that and just keep smoothing some of this out with a low brush intensity. So brush intensity of around probably think I'm using 61, I guess. So I'm not going to smoothing some of the surface up. Okay. Yeah, look, oh, this looks cool. Oh, nope. Smooth this out. All right. Looking good. I think this is coming out quite nicely. Okay. Let me kind of dig this in even more with the dynamic brush. So that part was protruding out way too much. Okay. Yeah, this looks fine. Alright, I guess we're done with this. If you still want to spend more detail on this, you're free. You can spend as much detail as you want on top of this. But I think something like this is a good base actually. So I think the next thing I'm going to be adding in here now will be some alphas. So I'm going to create a new layer for that also. So I'm just going to click on create new layer. Automatically that should be recording. And I'm going to rename this to alpha. See, alpha detailing should be a better name for this, yes. No, let me rename this with cabs on. So let me turn on cabs. So alpha detailing. So basically now I'm going to be using some predefined wood alpha to kind of add some more intricate detail in here, some more precise wood alpha detail in here. So with them standard, I'm going to put the stroke to drag rec. So let me look for, I actually have an alpha brush for this. So I go to the alpha tab. Then I'm going to look for, I have a wood brush for this, a wood alpha for this. Let me just kind of look for that wood alpha. So this is it here. So let's try this. Let me try this and see. So I'm going to try and test some of these to be sure if it's actually what I need for this particular project. If not, then I might just have to change something up. So go to the alpha. First of all, let's kind of test this out. So the intensity is fine. So let me try this in here. The details. I need something that's a more directional flow to it. Let me try this instead. I don't think that will work fine for me. I don't think. Let me just try this. Let's see. Let me see what that gives me. So from the alpha settings, I'll change the radial fade should be around 10. Then mid value should be around 45. That should be fine. So let me try this in. So with symmetry turned on, let's see what we have in here. I'll do that. I'm not completely satisfied with this wood alpha. I believe I have another wood alpha that should work better for this. think I have another wood alpha that would better for this. This particular wood alpha is more of a rotting wood. This will work best for a rotting wood, for the back of it, even for the back of a tree. But for this particular project, yeah, I don't think this will do justice to the wood I'm trying to create. I highly doubt that. I highly doubt that. Okay, I think I have another brush, so I kind of use another brush for this. I realized that I had another brush that was on the brush tab. So let me open up the folder. So this is the actual brush in here. This one should work just fine, yes. Because I believe I had another brush that worked just fine. So let's test this out. This should have a more directional flow to it. Yeah, exactly what we need. This is exactly what we need. That's a more directional flow to it. So this is the exact brush I'm going to be using to kind of break up the detail of this part, this actual bat. So the directionality of this alpha should be facing up. It should be facing up, something like this. Let me make sure. Okay, let me probably increase this. No, I'll leave this as it is. 4 is still fine. So let me have this as an angle like so. Okay. Then I'll go in between those gaps. Probably go in between those gaps. Actually, yeah, this is fine. So in between those gaps, now just draw out something like this also, matching the directionality of this vertically. Okay. That looks fine. So basically what I'm going to do now is going to be putting this on the entire model with the same directional flow to it. So something around here. So you can see as I'm kind of making sure the continuity is actually there, following that directional flow of it also. There's a bump around it. Let me see if I can tweak the alpha for this. So alpha settings, radial fade 10, mid value should be on 45. So let me undo all of this and do that again, because I don't want it to be poking out of the model too much. So mid value should be 45. Okay. So something like this here, something like this should work. Just still having that protruding face. Let me take down the intensity actually. So I don't want this to be too aggressive on the surface. It should be like kind of lying flat on the surface. I think something like this should work. So I'll just keep doing this. I'll continue on with this also. So on those empty gaps, I can just fill it. But while filling these empty gaps, you don't want to overdo this in a particular. You don't go multiple times in a particular surface, because that will not make the alpha feel, or the detailing feel too noisy, and you don't want that. So create one like so. Go to the empty gap with symmetry turned on, with that symmetry turned on. Do the same thing also in here. Then that'll be all. Then you go down and just keep repeating the process. Then later on, any other gap we have in there, we can fill that up with symmetry turned off. So then I'll scroll to the side, look for the gap in here. You know what? Let's try another brush alpha for this. So we don't have just something that feels too uniform around it. So let's see if that brush should work. Let's see what this gives us. So let me change the mid value, the mid value rather, to 45, and radial fade to 10. So let's drag this in. Let's see what we have in here. Nope, it's poking out. So let's adjust that. Let me take down the mid value. Okay, taking down the mid value kind of fits that. It's not too aggressive in there. It's not too aggressive in there. It's not really an aggressive brush. I don't think I'll be sticking with it. I think I'll just continue on with the one we're using before. Okay, but let me try something else. Let me try it with the higher intensity. This one has a more broader. The details are not too. We don't have fine details in this particular alpha. So I think I'm going to be using the previous one we're using before. Let us continue on with the previous one. Then we'll also use this other one to kind of maybe add some extra layer of detailing in some empty gaps. Nope, this is not the previous one. This is not the previous one we're using before. That has more finer detail to it. This is actually a brush. Let me look for that brush. Okay. This is not it. This is not it. Should be one of these in here. Because this is our this is our previous year. This is it. This is from our the previous brush we used. So this is the one. This is it. Let's keep using this and then all over the model. So yeah, everything is fine. Everything is fine. It's taking up the previous setting we had for this because we used it before, so we're just reusing it with the previous settings still intact. So keeping in mind the directionality of this also, so I just keep. So basically I'm going to repeat this all over the surface. So instead of showing you the entire thing, so just the repetitive process around this. So I'm still using the same alpha actually, with radar fading here. So this is cool. Kind of gives us a more spiral kind of effect around this. So I'm turning on radial fade now, so I just kind of flow that directionality to it and kind of do something like so at an angle. It doesn't need to be straight because this should feel more of an angle because this is like a rounded surface. So I'm kind of flowing the directionality of it and then doing something like so with symmetry turned off. Okay, like so, something broader like so in here, flowing at the directionality of this also around here like so. Yeah, that should be fine. That should work just fine. Okay. Okay, so now we can kind of break up now those empty spaces that were not filled up. So out of symmetry mode now, we can kind of fill that up. So we kind of check. Okay, yeah, for the top also, turn on symmetry for this. Radar free symmetry should be turned on for this. Okay. Yeah, this is the last part. I think now we can turn off symmetry and then we can just work with the directionality in there and just fill this up like so. Okay, yeah, that should be fine. Alright, our wood is looking more woody. Our wood is looking more woody. Okay, so now we can use the other subtle alpha, wood alpha to kind of fill up some of the empty gaps in here. So that will work just fine to kind of fill up some of the empty gaps in there. But still keeping in mind the directional flow to it, that is vertical. So continue filling this up on those empty spaces, but keeping it vertical. Okay. Alright. Okay, filling this up. Okay. So I think what we're going to do next is going to actually break the surface even more. But let me just show you guys what I want to do next now. Because we're having some kind of, imagine if a knife goes through this or a sharp object hits this particular wood. You definitely start having scratches on top of this, right? So what we're going to start creating next, we're going to start creating some kind of scratches on top of this. So we're going to be using a natural brush for this. So obviously create a new layer. So we have all those scratches on top of this. So let me name this. What can I name this now? Chips and cracks. Yeah, that should work just fine. Or you can name your scratches. Either way, as long you understand as long the name corresponds to what you want to do now. So I have a natural brush for that. So that I downloaded online. It's actually a free brush though. Something called scratch up something. Where is it now? Where is it now? Okay, it's around alpha. It's on alpha. So on the alpha start, so it should be this one, is this one exactly. So we can use this. So let me start by, let's see which one should we start with. Let's start with this one that has various classes on it. So double click on this. But it turned out that the brush is not completely honest because it just gives us only one alpha in there. It's supposed to be like 4 alphas, make it feel like finger scratches around that. But that's fine though. This will work just fine. So let me just kind of mark an X mark in there, which is cool. So I'm not going to start using this now, start detailing our model to add some kind of scratches in here. Okay, let me leave that the way it is. Okay, now let me undo that. So you want to kind of add something straight because scratches feel more straight, obviously. So something like so that one would add like a crack even in there. Okay, something like so in here also. But I was doing this just to break the uniformity of the model. So let me kind of use a different alpha. Let's try this. Let me try this one. This alpha is actually a scam. I didn't put the actual alpha in there. It's the wrong alpha that is actually in there. The preview is not what is actually in the alpha. But no worries, let's just look for something else that will work just fine for what we want to do. Okay, yeah, that looks fine. Okay, let me just do this again, something like so. Yeah, that's fine. So it's on drag rec, so which is fine also. So let's do this at the bottom also. Something that has larger, this should be fine. Then we can now use a different brush. Let me change this to. Okay, let's just use the same. No, not this. From that same crack brush, from this same folder, let's use this also. So I'm going to use kind of dig into the model, zoom into it, and kind of accentuate that depth in there, and kind of add some cracks around it just to make this feel more detailed. So that should be fine. That should work just fine. Okay. So now I can continue on with this and keep breaking up the surface even more. Something like this also. And use the same brush also to kind of dig in and I'll make it look kind of accentuate some of the details in there. So which one do we use? No, go back in there. It's actually this. So double click on that and then start adding some more sharp lines in there. Okay. So you can just actually have some fun while you kind of add some cut lines in there, but you don't want to go too crazy on this so it doesn't feel too noisy. Because we're also going to add some more detailed scratches on top of this inside of Substance Painter. So you want to be really mindful the amount of detail you add in here so it doesn't make the model look too noisy. Okay. Right. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. You can even take down the brush size just to have some more tiny scratches in there if you want to. But I think some of this will work just fine. I can even use the Dime Standard brush to kind of dig into some of those alpha we have created in there. So let me just change this to Dime Standard. So Dime Standard, yes, it's a lower brush intensity. So we should lower brush size rather. Then we can start just dragging out lines, just accentuate some of the alpha cracks we've added in there. So you can take your time to actually detail this if you want to, but I think this should be fine for what we need it for. Okay. So thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next lesson.